we've welcomed one another into the ceremony this evening. It's a ceremony for empaths and lightworkers. Arguably, I would say that all of us humans are empathic to some degree, but some of us have it as a very potent gift in our lives. And I just want to spend a couple of moments talking to you about what an empath is and what a lightworker is before we begin. So an empath is somebody that feels other people's emotions and the emotions of the collective energy field that we all share very strongly and as if they are their own. And I have had this gift always, but I didn't know I had this gift until I did my yoga teacher training 5 years ago, when they described what it was to be an empath, and suddenly everything made sense. Why it was so difficult for me to be in crowds, why I found it so difficult to be around people who were in intense emotional pain, why I could be feeling one way, come into contact with someone and suddenly feel all of this pain and not know where it had come from. Being an empath is a gift, but when you don't know that you have that gift, it can feel like a curse. If you're here today, it means that you've answered a soul call. And if you need any help going forward with understanding what it means to live and work as an empath, then do reach out, because we don't have the scope within our ceremony this evening to go into that, but it's definitely something on my radar, and I'd love to help anyone that's struggling with that, because I've been through that struggle myself. The second part is for light workers. When I first heard this term 15 years ago, and I immediately identified that that's what I had incarnated as in this lifetime, and probably many lifetimes before. It was not a term that was widely used at all. Whereas now, a couple of years ago, I put a post out on Facebook and I asked if I said the word lightworker, how many people would know what I meant? And I was shocked by the response. So many people understood. Lightworkers are believed to be souls that have incarnated in this lifetime in order to assist humanity by bringing more love and light onto the planet. And I know for a fact that many of you on this call, on this ceremony tonight, will instantly recognize in your heart that that is who and what you are. And the two often go together, empathy and light work, because we're drawn to the darkness, because that's where our light is needed the most. Some of you, like me, will be in active service. Some of you will be flying under the radar. So your role as a light worker and empath isn't specifically in service in the way that I am, as in an active healing capacity, in an active teaching capacity. However, it doesn't mean your role is any less important, and it doesn't mean you're any less active within your light worker modality and function. It just means that you were called here to do slightly different work. So it might be that you act as a support for others in your life. It might be that through your own work, whatever that is, you bring that love and joy and light and comfort to people. It might be that you work with animals. It could be any number of things, but it doesn't mean that you have to be working in the same way that I am. That's just my calling. However, some of you will be. Now tonight is the second night. The full supermoon was last night. But unfortunately, there was just no way I could lead the session with the depth and integrity and power that my soul has been calling us to do. So I took the decision to lead the session tonight instead, where we're still very much in the energy of this supermoon. I do not know too much about what astrological sign it's in. I know it's in Libra. I haven't looked into what the moon means or signifies, because that's not what I'm here to share tonight. What I do know is that the moon, the supermoon, is active at a Lightworker frequency. So there's certain frequencies that are associated with people who are on this path, and if you're interested in that, ask me after the call, because there's an amazing astrologist who's also, like me, she's got a background in finance of all things, but she's an economist and an astrologist who's also a light worker, and her purpose, her role is she's created this amazing astrological insight into like how light workers have different traits within their astrological charts, and certain times, certain astrological events will trigger en masse light workers. I called this session, this ceremony today, because this full moon was one of those triggers. And if you have been feeling tired, drawn, exhausted, charged, triggered, emotionally reactive, if you've been feeling more emotional than normal, and many other things associated with the full moon, it could well be that you're experiencing the trigger that's going on with the Lightworker full moon. And it's at a Lightworker frequency, so it's likely that you will have been experiencing that on some level. Now, the moon, there's other astrological events, but the supermoon particularly, the clue's in the name, it's super potent. And we're going through a time of great mass shift. There's so much going on in the collective energy field that I'm sure you're probably picking up on. And it's important to start to differentiate between what is yours and what is not yours. It's important to know for you personally what self-care practices will really benefit you. And now is the best time of all. There will never be a time as good as this to get to know how to take care of yourself. And I'm sorry to sound like a harbinger of doom, because I actually feel incredibly, incredibly hopeful and excited about what's going to come. But I believe this is going to be the first wave of a lot of events over the next few years that are going to trigger a mass awakening of consciousness, which is an amazing thing. But like any birthing process, it gets messy and it gets dirty and it can be very painful. The fact that you find yourself in this ceremony today is because you've answered a soul call and you're on a certain path. Now, I don't mean this in any kind of arrogant way, because we are not on that journey of arrogance and separation and ego. But many of us have undergone difficult spiritual awakenings in the past in order to prepare us for just these moments. Some of us will have experienced dark nights of the soul, will have experienced all the pain and difficulty that the population will go through as they begin to wake up. But the good news is that as somebody who has experienced that and who's sent here to bring light, the reason you went through it first is so that when this time came, you would be rock steady. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to feel the triggers, because trust me, we all are. It just means that you are rooted and grounded in your own spiritual practices, so that you are able to return to your center again and again and again when necessary. Know this to be true. Trust yourself and your own journey and your own dharma. Your dharma is your purpose. Trust your purpose here, even if it's not clear to you in this moment. and know that you found your way into my community because I've been doing this work for a long time, and I've been preparing for a long, long time. And I believe, like all of you, it's not just this lifetime. So my intention in creating a ceremony today is to let you lovingly release all of the things you consciously and knowingly know need to go in order for you to stand rock solid in your center and shine your light. Some of these things you will know at an instinctive level, so they're not going to be at the light of consciousness. Some of these things you will know consciously, but trust that that which holds us recognizes, without you needing to know it on a human level, recognizes instantly what needs to go and what doesn't. So when the time comes, stay out of your brain and just go with the process. We want to remind ourselves to fill our own cup first, constantly. And it's not at the detriment of anyone else. It's filling our own cup so that we are overflowing. I'm going to use the term again, rock steady, so that others can lean on us and we don't get depleted. So that's my intention. It's to give you an opportunity to release. It's to give you an opportunity to align with where we are energetically at the moment and to receive the up-leveling that's coming with this supermoon. So I talked a bit about how it can be triggering the supermoon to release. That's why we're getting triggered and we're feeling difficult, wobbly emotions. But at the same time, it is a download of a different frequency. So it's almost like you get triggered so that you make space for the new frequency to come through. And there's 4 parts to where we're going with the ceremony today. So we're gonna work with the 4 elements. We're gonna use fire to shift out and release the old, including the old ways of being, because we're entering a new part of life together communally now. Then we're going to move with air to rise from the flames into the ether and feel and know that we are always protected. Then from air, we're going to make our way to water so that we can step fully into frequency and flow. And then finally, we're going to earth back down. We're going to ground, work with earth to ground ourselves and to bring back, to anchor the frequency that we've experienced. Now, we're about to begin the ceremony. So if you want to lie down, if you want to get really comfortable, please do. If you are alone, or Sue and Chris, I know you two do a lot of this work together, so you wouldn't be shy doing it together. In a minute, I'm going to start to draw us into an altered state of consciousness. And if you get the urge to move, to chant, to shout, to dance, to sway, to rock, to beat your own beat, to get your drums out, Chris, whatever, that's not a euphemism, whatever. Sorry, I am taking it very seriously, but I have to crack the odd joke. But if you get any soul calling to join in as we move through the layers of consciousness, please listen to them. Otherwise, come to lie comfortably in your bed now as we start the ceremony. So lying, sitting, breathing. Maybe the eyes are closed, maybe they're open. I start by welcoming and greeting the 4 directions. The north, that is dark and cold. The south, that is warm and light. The east, where the sun rises. And the west, where the sun sets. The container in which we find ourselves. And we greet the elements, the fire, the air, the water and the earth. The elements which make life possible and give rise to all life. Welcome into our ceremony and welcome into our space. Thank you for giving us life and for holding us. And in this space of ceremony, I wish to greet the loving, helpful spirits that are guiding us in this journey today. They support us from the unseen realms. They meet us there. They hold us there. They support us and they protect us in our journey work. Thank you. From my mother's side, from your mother's side, I call in the ancestors. Welcome. And from my father's side, from your father's side, I call in the ancestors. Welcome. We all have ancestral lines that we feel in our hearts. I call them in lovingly and respectfully to work with us and help us and support each and every one of us. Take a moment yourself to welcome these energies and these beings and anything else that appears with love to assist you. And I lovingly ask each and every one of you to enter into this ceremony fully and completely. To allow yourself to participate at every level, knowing that there is greater work at play here than our small human selves. That you came here for this purpose. And by stepping into the ceremony, you are acknowledging that you're ready to heal, to open and to move forward in a safe, supported and protected way. And so the ceremonial work begins. In your heart and in your mind, set aside anything from the ordinary human realm as you start to move deeper into yourself. If there's any urge for movement, go with it. If there's any urge to sing or roar or chant, go with it. Or simply lie back and allow yourself to be taken on the journey as we go deeper. First of all, making the transition. our ordinary selves and our spiritual selves. You feel yourself starting to drop inwards. The body is alive and flickering with energy. And you see a doorway in front of you. It's so familiar, like the doorway from your house to the outside. But as you reach and take hold of the handle, the lock, and open the door, things are not as you thought they were. front of you is a veil of light. With smoke tendrils. It's thick. And on the other side you can see, but you can't see. And you know that when you step through this veil, you're stepping into a different plane of existence. It's inviting, and you know that you're safe. Prepare now to take a step through the veil and step over the threshold, leaving behind all your human and worldly concerns, becoming your highest self, your being of light. You're still you, but you're unburdened of everything human. Step fully through the portal now. And you find yourself on the other side. You feel the fresh sea air on your skin. The fresh sea air on your face. You taste the salt. There's the tiniest, most refreshing of breezes. And you feel down into your bare feet. And there's a mixture of grass and sand beneath them. As you look to the distance, it is dark. And it's starlit. But the moon is full and pink and enormous. With the light of the moon illuminating your path, you walk safely along the edge of this cliff top to a fire that you can see burning in the distance. You feel the crunch of the grass, the grains of the sand beneath your feet. You feel the soft kiss of the wind on your skin. You smell the salty sea air. You taste the salt in your mouth. And as you walk, the fire starts to get closer. And when you get there, you hear the crackle of the fire. It's large and it's roaring. You hear the flames, you see and smell the smoke. You can feel the heat of the fire on your face, and it feels so wonderful. It's warm and incredible. And standing around it, we gather at the top of this cliff with the moon full, her light beaming down upon us, her energy filling us, the frequency that we share with her at this time, shifting us irrevocably, shifting us permanently. We stand as one group around the fire, her warmth upon us. And each of us takes a moment of silence now to reflect and embody both consciously and unconsciously what we wish to offer to the fire. Sometimes we don't know with words what we wish to offer, but we feel it. Trust that whatever you feel is exactly right and is known in this realm. Now take the hand of the soul next to you. And together we're going to step boldly into the flames. They won't hurt us. They won't burn us. They will release everything that has come before. Together now, take that step. We step into the flames. We feel the warmth on our skin, but somehow it doesn't burn us. It doesn't hurt us in any way. Our feet feel pleasantly warm, nothing else. And yet the flames burn through the heavy layers that we've carried for many, many lifetimes. They burn through the dense energy, returning it to where it should have come from. And as we stand in the flames, holding hands, strong and as one, we breathe out everything that we thought life would be like. We make peace by releasing. We thought we knew, but we realized we didn't. And so we offer that to the flames, that we may be reborn through the fire into a new paradigm, into a new world together. We breathe deeply here. With every exhale, fanning the flames to release even more. And now we release each other's hands and we spread our arms wide so that our hearts open. And the fire dances through us. We are not burned, we are ablaze. Everything that is not ours to carry, everything from our ancestral lines that needs to be shifted every time the flames have consumed us, we release now. And instead we stand powerfully, stepping into a new phase of our lives. And as we release what has departed, as we release the past, as we release our old triggers, as we release our heavy, dense energy, as we release our life pre this period that we're in now, we release any expectations that we had, and so we can fully embrace this present moment. And as you make the decision to fully embrace this present moment and all that comes with it, symbolically you rise from the fire. We thank the element of fire for facilitating this release. And now we move up into the element of air. So you rise like an angel from the fire, gliding on the breath of the air into the sky towards the moon. Feel yourself floating up effortlessly, all of us rising together, rising on the breath of air as we work with her element. We float. And we lose ourselves, we lose our denseness. Suddenly we are the air. And as we float, in the light of the moon, as we feel ourselves completely weightless, as we feel the air moving through our bodies as if they were holograms or translucent. And we know what it means to be the breath, to be the air, to be the wind. We realize that we are completely protected. That we are one with everything. We float here in the light of the moon in the knowledge that we are protected. Thank you to the spirit of air for allowing us to be completely protected, to float into the sky from the flames and to be reborn in your transcendency, in your weightlessness, in your breath. And we move on now. We float like a feather down to the sea. Just like how a feather floats from side to side, riding the waves of the wind. We float down until each of us is floating in the warm ocean. We're lying in the warm ocean now, floating in the element of water. We're buoyant. We flow like water. And the light of the moon pours down upon our faces, upon our bodies. Lie in the ocean. The water's salty and warm. You can taste the salt. Your body is bobbing and dipping and floating, and you know that you are completely in the universal flow. You're floating in the universal womb with the light of the full supermoon enveloping you. You lie back and you float. continue to float in the ocean. And the moon continues to shine her rays down upon you. As you float, know that you are integrating and aligning with the flow. You've passed through release. This process will continue. You've passed through the gateway of acceptance, floating into the ether as the air, and coming to feel protected and at peace as you know that the only place to rest is in this moment, and that there are forces at work greater than what we know and can see with our human minds. And now you find yourself in the ocean, floating and flowing in complete alignment. The supermoon shines down upon you, and the energy and frequency that is needed on our planet integrates with you effortlessly. You don't do anything. You're like a radio transmitter. You're like a radio transmitter that picks up the frequencies being broadcast to us here and then offers that love, that frequency as an ambassador. So as you float in the ocean, remind yourself that this isn't a burden. There's no work for you to do. You just stay floating, flowing, and aligned. And your work is done. As you bob, and you are completely supported in the fluidity of water element. Feel the warmth of the water, the liquid quality against your skin, and the warm air on the top of your body that's outside of the water. We thank the earth element for reminding us and holding us in flow, for realigning us at a watery cellular level to the frequencies that are being broadcast to us at this time. And now we find ourselves back on the shore. The moon is bright in our eyes, and she seems so close. The sand between our toes as we sink ever so slightly. The cool air on our wet skin. That slight feeling of saltiness you get when you've come out of the sea. And we smile, because a great shift has happened. And we pad back towards the earth, towards the land, walking up from the beach, back towards the area where the grass and the sand mingle into one. We feel beneath our feet that the grass and the sand are more compacted now. And we feel the tickle of the grass between our toes. We smell the fire again as we pass by it. Our skin is dry now, and we feel the cool air, the crispness of the cold, of the crispness of the dark night with the moon shining upon us. The sound of the birds, the hoot of an owl, we pause, we feel our 2 feet on the earth, on the grass, our feet wide, so that we feel completely anchored by Mother Earth. And we remember that Mother Earth and her gravity are constantly anchoring us and pulling us down in the most nurturing, supportive way, so that we don't get lost, so we don't float off. Mother Earth holds us. And we feel through our feet this deep symbiotic connection. So we feed and need Mother Earth, and she feeds and needs us as well. We're longing to come back into that loving, balanced relationship. As you stand anchored to Mother Earth, grateful for her stability, you bring your hands to your heart, and we are back in the circle, standing shoulder to shoulder, one unified energy field, pure, clean, protected, shining light in the same way that the moon above us shines down. And we know in our hearts that we have anchored in this experience today. We finish by grounding, because we ground in the frequencies from the moon. We ground in the frequencies, the flow, the alignment that we've experienced in this other dimension. We ground in the protection that we experienced when we were in the air. And we feel in our bodies the release that has taken place. We've honoured everything that's got us to this point, but now we step into a new reality. Take a moment in the circle together, in silence. Anchor any experience, any awakening or insight that you may have had during this journey. Anchor it into you now, so that the shifts that have occurred remain permanent. Ask your heart if there's any prayers or honouring that you need to do. And take this time to give thanks, to give prayer. Maybe it's for yourself, maybe it's for yourself and others, maybe it's for Mother Earth, maybe it's for humanity as a whole. Maybe it's of gratitude, it doesn't matter. Listen to your heart and take that time now. Now we respectfully leave the circle and we come back to the veil. Before you step through the veil, give thanks. Give thanks to this alternate world that has been our sacred ceremonial space. To the spirits that live here, that have guided and supported us, to the elements that created the ceremony for us. Give silent thanks to each other. And give thanks to your own loving, helpful guides. As you step back through the veil and into ordinary waking life, know that everything that's happened this side of the veil will remain with you. And take the step now. I want to thank all of the non-human helpers who guided this ceremony today. I want to thank the elements of fire, air, water and earth that gave themselves so willingly to support each of us. I want to thank the north, the south, the east and the west for being our container. My guides that show up, take charge and tell me where we need to go. And my own helpers that support me in the non-ordinary realms. Thank you. Thank you to the ancestors. And thank you for the healing, release and transformation that's occurred. We came here with a purpose and an intention. There is much fear and uncertainty around at the moment, and many of us who are sensitive and who've incarnated with a purpose to help shift humanity to a new level of consciousness will be feeling the fear, the pain and the triggers deeply, intensely and as if it's our own. But today in ceremony, we acknowledged that some of those fears are not ours. We released that which is ours but is no longer ours to carry. And we consciously stepped out of the old paradigm into the new paradigm. So we leave the ceremony today stronger, more grounded, more centered and rock solid. Know that it's going to take time for this to integrate, and that possibly you will have your loving spirit helpers contacting you if it is your wish for that to happen. Contacting you, guiding and supporting you in your journey, because by stepping up and forward today, you've opened and signaled to the universe that you are ready to step into this frequency that you came here to broadcast. Remember, there's nothing to do except float in that ocean in flow. When things get heavy and hard, hold yourself tighter, more lovingly, with more self-care, and ask, is it yours to carry, or is it from the collective? If it's yours, breathe with it, move into it and through it. If it's the collective's, you can either stay in the ether completely protected, so it doesn't even get close to touching you, or you can, maintaining those boundaries of protection always, you can breathe through that trigger, knowing that you have the capacity within you, with these frequencies that we talked about today, you have the capacity to take in that fear and pain from the collective and transmute it back into love. And it doesn't have to touch you and your energy as a person. It's almost like your energy field is at a certain frequency. That stuff comes in and it instantly shifts. But I just want to leave you with this. Take care of yourself first. Make sure your own cup remains full. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now and let's just do that.